I would respect it if Jay Electronica was more active. I would respect it if Jay Electronica was dropping more music. I would respect it if Jay Electronica was out here competing more.
Yeah.
You know, being that he's not, it seemed like a reach. It seemed like a cry for attention. And I love Jay Electronica, peace to the God. But I just feel like, you know, if you're gonna call out J. Cole and Drake, two guys that are very active, you gotta have something to back that up.
What's going on with y'all today? This is Clips with Newtral Groundz, and for today, we're going to be talking about something that I feel like a lot of New Orleans people aren't really tapped into. It's something that's pondered hip-hop for the last 20 years. So usually when you're thinking about who's the best rapper alive or who's, you know, number one, who's the best lyricist, there are usually some things that you take into account when you're considering that. For one is the amount of albums you drop. You know, you got people like Jay-Z, Kanye West, and Lil Wayne with these extensive bodies of work. You can't really complain or you can't really argue that they're like goats in this game. You know, you can go to the music, you know, that's the track record. You know, go to the music and see for yourself. You also had people that made their marks in about 2 albums, like Nas and Eminem, kind of fell off throughout the years, you heard me, but the bodies of work that they've released have been so good that they've withstood the test of time and have allowed them to be placed in those higher rankings with artists and whatnot. So, you know, you have those type of people. Then you got the people like Jay Electronica, and that's who this video is going to be about. The people who are still in those debates, the rappers that have reached those heights as far as potential goes, but didn't really follow through with releasing the projects necessary to seal themselves in history. Jay Electronica is arguably one of the most mysterious rappers in the game. And a lot of people don't even know that he's from New Orleans. A lot of people really don't know that he's from the third ward of New Orleans, meaning that he shares the same neighborhood with rappers like Soulja Slim. Like, if you look at Jay Electronica and Soulja Slim, they're like complete opposites when it comes to the context of the music. But Jay's story is a little bit different. So I'm going to get into his story for a minute, and then I'm going to visit the question and ask, is he considered a New Orleans rap legend? I'm not even going to go to a national rap legend because I don't want to get into that, but let's just stick for New Orleans for this one. Is he a New Orleans rap legend, and should he be treated as such? Although he really hasn't released too much of anything and has never dropped an official studio album. So before I get into that, I want to know what y'all think. Do y'all think that Jay Electronica is a rap legend? Y'all think that he's worthy of the title? Y'all think that the music that he's released has solidified himself in the game as a legend? Let me know what you think in the comments. But let's take it back to Jay Electronica in the early 90s in New Orleans, man. Like, Jay Electronica has always been somebody who's loved music. You know, he came from the Third Ward Magnolia Projects. It wasn't easy living around there. It wasn't easy growing up in those streets. He actually moved away to get a new perspective on life. He went up north around like the New Yorks, the Philadelphias, Detroits, all that type of thing. And when he first left, he was actually kind of homeless. Jay Electronica was sleeping on trains, he was sleeping on corners, bouncing around from couch to couch. He didn't really have a place that he could call home. He left New Orleans kind of on a mission to find himself because he felt like he didn't fit in with the music culture that was thriving back then. He wasn't really a call to action type rapper. I know a lot of people in New Orleans were doing that call to action style music with the bounce, you know, the early Cash Money, No Limit type of thing. Jay Electronica was a pure lyricist. Like, his raps go over your head. You would have to listen to his raps 5 times minimum just to get what he's saying and everything. And I'm not talking about the Lil Wayne type where it's going over your head, but it's catchy. Jay Electronica, he has substance. Everything that he talks about is filled with substance. You know, people have compared him to, you know, being an early Kendrick Lamar. Like, Jay Electronica was actually supposed to be the rap savior at one point. It was one point where everybody basically thought that Jay Electronica was about to come in and change the rap game for what it was, period. Every time he got people's hopes up like that, it seemed like he kind of disappears. So let's keep taking it back. So he moved to New York and, you know, bounced around between New York, Philly, Detroit, and all that. He was homeless. So when he finally moved to Detroit and kind of got stationary, that's when things started working out for him. He had actually linked up with legendary producer Jay Dilla and one of Eminem's former associates, Mr. Porter.
I met Dilla in Detroit through Denon Porter, Mr. Porter from D12. He's probably most known as that, but he's a producer. And he's worked with a lot of people. But anyway, him and a brother of mine, Johnny and Mike Chavaria, they introduced me to Dilla. They were building his studio at the time. I think he had just signed what MCA had gave him a deal or something. They gave him like $300,000 to build a studio because he wanted to work in Detroit. He didn't want to leave. So I met him during that time period when he was building his studio, and you know, I started doing some stuff on his music. You know, we never actually had a chance to work together because, you know, I left Detroit, and then at the time when we were supposed to start working, you know, he got ill and he passed away. But you know, that's how I met him. But I don't.
But you still have tracks that you
spit
over his beats and stuff like that.
I got like 1,000 Dilla beats.
During that time is when we started seeing his first music releases. He actually asked Jay Dilla could he take some of those songs that they had made together and compile it into a demo, and that's when the Style Wars in 2007 came out. I don't know if y'all heard that. Go check that out if y'all want to get a glimpse at the early Jay Electronica. So once the Style Wars came out, he had dropped this immaculate 5-part, 1-song, no drum project. I don't know what you want to call it, but it was called Act 1, Eternal Sunshine. And it basically featured really abstract music. The concepts were not something that you would regularly see in rap. It gave me more movie vibes than it gave me album vibes. That's just the type of work that he put in to create that. Like, this was so different. And if you haven't listened to that, go check that out as well. But he had dropped the Act 1, Eternal Sunshine. And then this is during the time where DX started calling him like a myth and an urban legend, because he would drop something, then he would dip. People wouldn't hear from him for a minute. And I feel like that was due in large part to his artist syndrome. I feel like a lot of artists spend so much time perfecting their work that they don't really care about distributing it. They just want to make sure that it's perfect in their own way. So he would take his little breaks, and he started developing a reputation for being somebody that would go AWOL in the music game. So you started getting this mystique essence surrounding him where people basically wanted to hear what he had coming out next. And during this time, you know, he had a kid with Erykah Badu and whatnot. And then he started messing around with a Rothschild. Like, it's just so many mysterious things that surrounded Jay Electronica. And people really don't know the type of person he was. If people knew the type of person he was, they wouldn't be as surprised by the type of decisions he make musically.
Because before, I never had no direction with music. I just knew I had two goals with music pre-Islam. I wanted to be back when lyrics mattered and stuff like that. I wanted to be recognized as one of the greats, by greats that I recognize as greats, and to make enough money to get my family out of poverty, you know. But I never had no sense of mission or nothing like that attached to it. But then when I got Islam, it was like, oh, now I got the vehicle. This is the mission.
For one, he's a very spiritual person. You know, he believes in moving on things when they're in perfect alignment. So I can easily understand how something like music could be put on a back burner for somebody that's just so deep. So in 2007, he actually dropped Exhibit A and Exhibit C, which were two different tracks that I would say are my favorite pieces by Jay Electronica that were officially released. Exhibit A and Exhibit C, I'm talking about hard. Like, if y'all really listen to them, it's hard. He talk a lot about New Orleans. For my New Orleans people, if y'all want to go hear something real political, you know what I'm saying? He was like a Kendrick, but he didn't mind going there politically. He real heavily involved in the Nation of Islam. He doesn't care about what people feel about him politically. He's gonna speak his mind, he's gonna speak his truth. And I feel like that kind of hurt him as well, because it took away his ability to be commercial, and it kind of made him some enemies in mainstream media. So that was another reason why he kind of fell out. But when he dropped the Exhibit A and Exhibit C, I'm trying to tell y'all, he was known as the GOAT off GP. It was like, it wasn't no contest. People were thinking Jay Electronica was about to be the new hottest, man. Like, it was no contest. So after he had dropped the Exhibit A and Exhibit C, he signed to Jay-Z. This was right around the time that Jay-Z inked the deal with Live Nation. So for people that don't know that, Jay-Z basically combined The Rock and Live Nation and made Rock Nation. Live Nation is one of the biggest event venue owners in the world. So when Jay-Z inked that deal, he basically guaranteed all of his artists endless shows. So for people to understand the gravity of that deal, Jay-Z was making around $200 million before he renewed the deal with Live Nation. So he signed Jay Electronica around 2010. And when that happened, that put Jay in the news hard. So people started asking questions like, okay, well, he about to drop, because Jay Electronica basically promised Act 2 of his first installment, which was the Eternal Sunshine series. So that track changed people's lives. So people were ready to hit Act 2. So Jay-Z signed Jay Electronica, and after that, we kind of felt like, okay, contractually, Jay would have to release stuff. So here we are 10 years later, a whole 10 years, it's 2020, and we still haven't gotten Act 2. You know, we've gotten some fire features over the year. Like, one of my favorite features was the suplexes and complexes and duplexes with Mac Miller. Then he had the control verse. I don't know if people overlooked that one because Kendrick kind of went at everybody had on that track, but it was Big Sean's control. Jay Electronica had a fire verse on there. So he's been giving us some good stuff. He had some stuff with Jay-Z as well, you know, that he released, you know what I'm saying? But he hasn't released the album, and we need the album. So this story is really just explaining how I personally feel like Jay Electronica is a GOAT in his own right. Because for one, nobody came from New Orleans with that kind of context, with that kind of substance, and actually made it out. New Orleans is known for being like a party city, more, less morals, no substance, party, fun, and he saw a different path for himself. And that's one of the reasons why he left to go discover himself in New York and stuff like that, because he felt like he wasn't resonating with the culture in New Orleans. Going back, he actually regretted that, but now it's to the point to where, okay, Jay, what you gonna give us? So the question is he a rap New Orleans legend? And I say, hell yeah. Yes indeed. If you listen to these tracks, like, come on, like, just being 100% real about the situation, Jay Electronica is rapping circles around your favorite rapper. The only person I wouldn't put him under as far as lyricism in New Orleans is Wayne, and that's because Wayne is on a whole nother planet. But when you're talking about real lyrics and actually having meaning behind them, actually trying to teach people stuff, Jay Electronica is in a whole nother bracket. A whole nother bracket. So like I asked earlier, I want to know what y'all think. Do y'all think Jay Electronica is the biggest hoax in hip hop? Or do y'all think he's just a legend who moves with different vibes, and when he's ready to give us that act 2, we're gonna get it? Let me know what y'all think in the comments, and I'm out.